Peaky Blinders Season 5 revealed what was next for Tommy Shelby and the rest of the gang as they faced the Wall Street crash, rival gangs and fascist leader Oswald Mosley. But what about their real-life counterparts? Who were they and what actually happened to them? Just like in the TV show, the real Peaky Blinders were a notorious Birmingham gang involved in gambling, robbery, protection rackets and violence. In fact, creator Stephen Knight was inspired to write Peaky Blinders because his dad's uncles, the Sheldons, were bookmakers and part of the Peaky Blinders heritage. In an interview with History Extra, he revealed that his dad's stories gave him his first vision of the show. One of the stories that really made me want to write Peaky Blinders is one my dad told me. His dad gave him a message and said, "Go and deliver this to your uncles." My dad knocked on the door and there was a table with about 8 men, immaculately dressed, wearing caps and with guns in their pockets. The table was covered with money. Just that image. Smoke, booze and these immaculately dressed men in this slum in Birmingham. I thought, that's the mythology, that's the story, and that's the first image I started to work with. Who were the actual Peaky Blinders? The actual Peaky Blinders were around from the 1890s rather than the 1920s, so that differs from the BBC series. Most of their members were young men, and some could be as young as 12. They were purely a street gang, though, and didn't have Tommy's political ambition. They did, however, go further than Tommy, or even Arthur, in their casual violence. On top of the robberies and skirmishes with rival gangs, they also assaulted the police. If you thought their violence against others was bad, the fights among themselves were even worse. Knight's uncle said, via the Mirror, that in one fight between 2 Peaky Blinders, they didn't care about each other's eyes, ears, throats. They were like dogs fighting. The popular story is that their name came from the razor blades in their caps. Historian Carl Chin, via Birmingham Mail, suggested that this is most likely a myth. Razor blades were only starting to be used in the 1890s and so were prohibitively expensive at the time. It's much more likely their name came from the peaks of their caps and the fact that blinder was slang for their well-dressed appearance. The Peaky Blinders ruled the Birmingham streets for decades, but by the 1910s they'd lost power to rival gang the Birmingham Boys. Although they'd lost the top spot, it's been suggested that the term Peaky Blinders came to refer to any street gang in Birmingham. Billy Kimber, the leader of the Birmingham Boys, could even be a model for Tommy. A minor character, and a Cockney. In Season 1, in real life Kimber was charismatic and intelligent and became the most powerful gangster in England. Kimber had another base in London and formed alliances with other gangs in Leeds and Uttoxeter. But it wasn't just the increasing dominance of other gangs that led to the end of the Peaky Blinders. Stricter policing and tougher sentencing meant that many left the gang and few joined. Children were increasingly going to school and learning discipline, and new boxing clubs gave many an alternative to the gang. By the 1920s the remaining Peaky Blinders moved to the countryside and largely disappeared from view as the Sabinists, another gang, claimed all their Birmingham territories. Another instance of the show rewriting history. Most Peaky Blinders reformed and were too ashamed to tell their children about their past. But don't expect that to happen to the Shelbys, at least, not in this series.